you and Torquay, you run one down for me.
Oh, mate, I know. I'm on beer Moretti's. Do you like beer Moretti?
Oh, mate, I love beer Moretti. It's one of my favourite beers in the world.
Oh, they're so good. It's like a drink from abroad, I think.
Yeah, mate. Have you ever had Camden Hells?
No, I don't think I have, actually.
Camden Hells is a really good beer as well, actually.
Yeah? All right, no, I haven't tried it.
I started getting, have you know that range, like Beavertown? Like, you got like Gamma Rays, Neck Oil. You know those ones?
No, I don't think I have, actually.
Oh, you need to broaden your horizons, son.
I think I need to, mate. Yeah, I think you need to take me for like a dirty night out, and you just show me the ropes.
Yeah, mate. We're too old for having nights out. We'll go have a few pints, and we'll make sure we're home by 11.
Mate, that sounds like the best night ever. Get a full 8 hours in, mate.
From 7 to 11, and then go home.
To be fair, mate, I probably don't need that much anymore to like have. Do you want me to be plastered?
I'm such a lightweight.
Cheap date. You're a cheap date, mate.
I'm being hungover.
Literally. Oh,
awful.
God. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Joshua Green podcast. And today I'm speaking with my long-term friend, thinks he's hilarious, stupidly tall. His name's Harry Johnson. Here he is, boys. Harry, just tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Where to start? Well, like Josh said, stupidly tall. Grew up in Devon. Got 2 older brothers. Oh, a dog who's just made an appearance somewhere or another.
Have you got a dog? Have you?
Have you never met Tara?
No, I didn't even realise you had a dog.
Really?
No.
Surely you must have met Tara at some point.
No. Look at her.
What? That's mental.
That little thing.
Surely you must have met them at some point or another. I mean, we
No.
pre-drunk at some point or another in the last 10 years.
Is it your mum's dog or yours?
Mum's dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've met her before. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
God, I felt like I had to very clear that up there.
Yeah, no worries.
So yeah.
Yeah, so from Devon,
brothers,
stupidly
tall, hairdresser, own a salon in London. Just saying.
Don't be jealous. Don't be
too jealous. And that is kind of me wrapped up in a nutshell, actually.
Yeah.
What I have to say.
So, so one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Harry, was, what actually made you want to be a hairdresser? Did you want to start off as a barber, or did you just want to go straight into hairdressing?
It's a really good question, actually, because I think when you speak to most hairdressers, you kind of get a very generic hairdresser answer, which is very much, along the lines of, oh, I've always been in love with hairdressing. I used to love fashion growing up as a kid. I mean, I didn't love fashion growing up as a kid.
I know what you loved, mate.
All right. There was never a case of that. I never used to, read my mum's magazines and all this business. I think it was just more of a case of, I was just so happy whenever I would go to the hairdressers.
Yeah.
It'd be a case of talking to my hairdresser. They kind of made me feel happy. We'd talk about Harry Potter all day, for 45 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And I'd honestly leave feeling better than most times that I would actually ever feel any time, to be honest with you. So then when I was kind of getting to 14, 15, I was toying with the idea of either hairdressing or becoming a chef. Now,
really? I never knew that, Harry. I never knew that.
Well, I was studying culinary cooking in school for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
For hairdressing. But then, when you're in year 10 and you got to go do your week's work experience.
Yeah.
So I went and did that in just a local salon.
Okay.
Just in Abbott. And then at the end of that week, they ended up offering me a job, actually.
Really? Was that Andrew Hill?
No, so that was Gershwin's.
Okay.
I was at Gershwin's for my final year of school.
Yep.
Where I was going in, every Monday and Tuesday after work to go train, going in every Saturday to go work, and then just still kind of getting on with my school life, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow. So you sort of kind of like fell upon it, but I'll tell you what, that's it's really resonated with me. It really resonates with me when you say, like, you never really aspired to do it. You sort of fell into it, but you pursued it because it was something you enjoyed.
I think it was something to do with that. I mean, I've always kind of enjoyed being around other people, to be honest with you, and I always, I would say, yes, there's an element of I just fell into it, but at the same time, it was also something that I was very much trying to do from when I was about 13, but no one's going to hire a 13-year-old assistant.
Yeah, well,
kind of
yeah.
bordering on, you're almost on child labour at that point. So, I had to wait till I was 15 to at least just try my hand at something after. But I think
Yeah.
it was quite clear that I never wanted to go into, further education or have a job as, an accountant or,
It
well,
didn't interest you?
it just never interested me. I was never that academically gifted,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. It was just never really my forte.
Yeah. But
So
the
it's
thing
just
is,
something that,
where one skill lacks, you're up in another. So your emotional intelligence is probably a lot higher than you think. You can converse with, and it's a legitimate thing. Like, you're able to converse with complete strangers. Like, a lot of people can't even do that. There are people who probably earn over 100 grand a year, and they couldn't be alone with like 5 complete strangers in a room and be okay. Does that make sense? They'd freeze up. They wouldn't know what to do. Whereas you excel. You excel. You're in that environment, and that's probably what led you to go traveling as well.
Yeah, massively so. Yeah, massively. Traveling was definitely one of the main things that I'd done, because at that point, I think I've been doing hairdressing for about 6-7 years at that point.
Wow.
And, I think I never really obviously got that A-level university life, because I left school when I was 16 and just went straight into an apprenticeship.
Right. Okay.
So, where all my friends were always going out drinking, enjoying themselves, having fun from, A-levels all the way through to, 22, 23 with uni life, I never really got that. I used to go up and have, the odd night at my brother's freshers weeks or so.
Yeah.
But I felt like I just needed to just take almost like a year of time
Yeah.
to just to myself, really.
Yeah, that's
But
fair
then
enough.
during that, during the time, I kind of, explored other avenues of hairdressing though. I actually became a barber in that year.
Did you? I never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, I became a barber in Sydney. So I started doing all like the cutthroat razoring, doing like all the wet towel shaves.
That's
And
cool.
yeah,
That's
mate, it
really
was
cool,
actually
man.
really, really cool. Because
That is
I was
cool.
always, predominantly women's hair.
Yeah.
I've always had a real interest in men's hair as well, to be honest with you. But, it was really quite exciting going into it, just a completely different style of hairdressing.
Yeah. Man, that's cool. It's crazy, Harry, like how a couple of years apart, you've been and done so much.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, it was important for me to enjoy my life and, make sure that I don't really miss out on it.
Yeah.
Life.
Not all work and no play.
Yeah, exactly. But I was
Yeah.
also very, very serious about work. When I was in work, it was, to the point.
Yeah,
I was
sure.
never, the person I like to mess around on the shop floor.
Yeah.
I remember once my boss, Andrew, I was working at Andrew Hill at this point, and he was doing a client, and I was actually Andrew's personal assistant at this point.
Right. So just so people can understand. So Andrew Hill, when did you start? Could you just kind of give us a bit of a timeline? So how old were you when you were working at Andrew Hill?
So I was at Andrew's from when I was 17 through to 20.
Okay, so you just finished school, and you basically, well, you were getting qualified.
Yeah. So basically, I left school at 16.
Yep.
Enjoyed my last summer's holiday, and then I actually told a lie. Then I didn't go straight into an apprenticeship at 16. I actually went to do hairdressing at college.
Okay.
And so I was going to South Devon College to study hairdressing, because my mum's youngest son, and she's a widow. And I felt almost responsible. Both my brothers had moved on to university at this point,
Yeah.
and I almost felt guilty about going in for an apprenticeship,
Yeah.
because she's going to lose her child benefits on me. The things that was supporting
Her
our
livelihood.
life. Yeah, exactly. So I actually dropped out of working from Gershwin's at that point, because they did offer me an apprenticeship.
Sure.
So I left Gershwin's and went to South Devon College, but then after being there for about 4 months, it was quite clear that it wasn't the type of place. Everyone there was there to mess around. You remember, what was it called when we used to get £30 a week just for going to like college?
Oh, I can't. I'm not sure.
ECM? EMC,
I never got it because I was doing an apprenticeship at the time. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was getting like £30 a week just for going to college.
It's all right, isn't it?
It was all right, just turning up,
Yeah.
But then after a while, it was quite clear that it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I ended up going for, without telling my mum anything, went for 2 interviews, trial days at Andrews at this point.
Cool.
And that's when he offered me the job when I was 17.
Wow. So you've taken this job at Andrew Hill. You're under his wing. He's the owner, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're just about to tell us a story before I rudely interrupted.
Where's that story going? Sorry, I lost
So
context.
no, it's fine. So you were basically talking about oh god,
Oh, I remember now. The
well done.
seriousness of hairdressing.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. So I remember at this point, I was Andrew's personal assistant, and just to kind of give a brief overview of Andrew, he's an amazing human being,
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. He's ran the best hairdressers in Devon for the last 30 odd years now. Absolutely fantastic man. And he was almost like a local celebrity for a while. He traveled the world doing the hairdressing competitions. He used to have all these certificates and awards all around the salon, and that was kind of what sparked my interest in really working for him, actually.
yeah,
But the thing is, working for Andrew is, as well as being a great hairdresser, it was also about having that great level of customer service as well.
yeah,
And if you can't deliver that level of customer service, then you weren't going to last long in that salon, actually. And it was to do with the points of a lot of people would think it's almost borderlining pretentious, but it was almost just his detail
yeah.
to perfection, actually.
Like attention. Attention is attention to detail.
Yeah, exactly. When we'd finish a shampoo, it wouldn't be oh, can we get you a drink of anything? It would
Yeah,
have to be a word in, can I offer you a refreshment?
Yeah.
It's just like those little details, when we put a drink down next to someone, don't just lean right across them and put the drink down, almost walk to their left and place it down next to them.
So you're offering a service, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And this kind of was like what you'd imagine to be like a very high-end salon in London in the countryside. So he was very much on top of
Yeah,
that level of things. But just kind of, his level of attentiveness was so strong. Now, at one point, I remember I was just sweeping up the salon. And yeah, maybe at this point I thought I was, the cool guy. I think I was a head junior at this point as well. And he calls me over and, just shouts my name, Harry. And I basically shout back to him saying, yo. I just shouted yo in the middle of his salon.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Honestly, I never did that again.
Were there people
Never,
there?
ever. Oh yeah. Yeah, the salon was full. I just shouted yo across the salon.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, he didn't actually have to say anything. He just gave me this look that I knew that I just stepped out of favour at that point, actually.
Yeah.
But it was just that, ever since then, it's never really been skirting the boards of it, really.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I imagine you sound like you're really humble and that you learned a lot from him. So obviously, I'm sure you've taken on some of his attentiveness to detail onto your career, and hopefully probably into your salon.
Massively so. I mean, I'm still in touch with him today. I actually, his salon's actually back open at the moment. Not open for business, but they've got receptionists in there answering the phones. And I saw that the door was open, so I popped my head in just to go see if I could see him. But, we're still in quite close contact now, even though I left his salon over 6 years ago.
Wow, that's good. That's great.
I still refer to him as my boss. I still refer to him as my father figure in hairdressing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was someone who I think I'll always be close with, actually.
Did he ever give you any advice or?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did. Along the years. It wasn't so much words that he would say in advice. It was almost just the mannerisms of what he would be. He would almost set himself on such a high bar.
The way he went about things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was a 55-year-old man at the time when I was working there, and every Saturday, we'd work 8:30 till 4, and he would be the first one in there every single day at 8 o'clock in the morning, doing clients before anyone's even walking through the door. Wow. And he did that every single day that he was in. He was always the first one there and the last to leave.
That's
and
crazy,
he almost just sets the example as, if he's doing that, what's your excuse?
True. Yeah. He sounds super passionate. It's easy just from you saying that, from a junior's perspective. It must have been very easy to see why he was in the position he was. Massively.
Hard work, commitment. His mum was a hairdresser, so he was kind of born into the industry.
Okay.
So the salon was Margaret Ann's before Andrew's.
Right.
And then he took over from Margaret, and then that's when the salon just kind of went from being a nice local salon to being the biggest salon around.
So is it just the one that they've got, or is there quite a few?
No, he's just got the one salon, actually.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure why he never really branched out, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think he just enjoyed his life in Devon. He had his family, with his wife, his 2 kids. He had a beautiful house up on the moors.
Lovely.
Yeah, I think after a while, he's never really felt the need to, you know, grow it anymore. He was happy with what he had accomplished.
Well, so I mean, to be fair to him, from the sounds of it, he's done. You know, if he's inspiring young people like yourself, then he's smashing life, in my opinion. You know, I mean,
No, definitely.
it probably led you to continue and power through in your career, and winning awards and open your own salon and making some big moves, like i.e. moving to London. And well, so why, Harry? What made you want to go to London then? Was it for your career or?
Always the career. Always for the career, actually. As much as I learned at Andrews, good hairdressing basics, phenomenal customer service, I knew that I was never going to be as good as I wanted to be, actually. And I'd been a stylist at Andrews for about 6 months at this point.
Sure.
So I trained for 2.5 years. And then I was on the floor for 6 months, 6 months, 2 years, something around that period. And I actually applied to become an apprentice again to some of the biggest salons up in London. I think I was applying to, at the time, Nicky Clark, Trevor Sorby, Vidal Sassoon, Errol Douglas, all of these
big names.
Like the celebrity almost level of hairdressing. And I actually got offered the position, or I got offered an interview with one of them at Trevor Sorby, actually. So that the morning of the interview, me and my mum got the train up into London at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I got up there, and actually the train was actually bloody delayed, whether you'd believe it or not.
No.
So the train was delayed getting into Paddington. So I remember I had to get from Paddington to Covent Garden, which is right central London. So, I mean, bear in mind, I don't have anywhere idea on how to navigate London at this point. So I'm there, running through the underground, just trying to find my way to go. I actually ended up being about 20 minutes late to my interview.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What happened?
Nothing. I was absolutely fine with it, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's great. I mean, a lot of people would just turn, especially in London, no offense to Londoners, but they probably just turn the nose up. They're like, well, you should have been an hour early or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, wow.
Yeah, no, they were absolutely really accepting, actually. I think I was calling them up, letting them know that, the train was going to be delayed, a good hour before my interview.
That's good, yeah.
So, I think they knew that I was coming from Devon and I was making this trip. And I think there was only hiring 3 people at the time.
Yeah.
There was opening up a new salon in Richmond, which is southwest London. And so there's looking for 3 juniors. And I think there was somewhere between 150 and 200 applicants.
Jesus.
Kind of going in for it. And I was lucky enough to get offered one of those 3.
Wow. That's an incredible achievement.
Yeah. It was, no, I was really over the moon when I got offered that position, actually. But then it was quite closely followed by regret, as handing in my notice at Andrews at the time was honestly one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my career.
Well, you go from, I imagine it was, you're probably very nervous about the big move to London. New job, new friends, it's a lot to take in. They reckon one of the most stressful times of your life is just moving. So you had a new career. That's another one of the big 3. You were moving, and I mean the amount of stress that must be involved with the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole moving, trying to get up to London as well, trying to find a good place to live that's reasonably priced, that's close enough to get to work.
Yeah.
With it being a new salon and a new job, it's still up in the air. I didn't have an exact date on when I was going to be starting. All I knew is that I was going to be starting. Yeah. So everything was very, very up in the air for those first 3 months up in London, actually.
Okay. So you actually moved there then without actually having a job, technically?
I'd already had the job, but I hadn't been given a start date at that point. I'd been promised a job.
Okay.
But, no contracts had been signed. There's obviously no start date. Yeah. But they allowed me to kind of come in and work in their Covent Garden salon.
Oh,
so I went in and I was working in their Covent Garden salon. But bear in mind, I was the youngest person in that whole company.
Bloody
hell. At the time, they refused to hire anyone who was younger than 25 years old.
Okay.
In their eyes, they don't want, teenagers and early 20-year-olds, in the salon. They, for their level of service, it is really quite pinnacle.
Of course. And also they the money they're going to invest in you, and i.e. in training and stuff like that, they don't want to give it to somebody who's young who doesn't necessarily know if this is for them for life, whereas yourself, you're fully committed, you're ready for it. This is what you want, you know?
Yeah, yeah, massively. No, yeah, no. But I think they definitely appreciated the fact that I was, prepared to move from Devon, and I just, I sold my car, for about £3,000, so that was kind of enough to kind of get me started in London,
Yeah.
but not for long. Three
Yeah.
thousand doesn't actually last you long.
Yeah. That probably comes to rent, I imagine, for like a month.
Rent and deposit.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Deposit and a little bit of food for a couple of weeks.
Oh man. So what did you do then? Did you house share or did you just get your place by yourself?
I was really lucky enough actually to have a family friend who lived in Surrey.
Oh wow.
So I moved up with her for about 3 months actually, and from there, so I was commuting from Surrey into central London every day.
Yeah.
So that was about a 2-hour journey each.
Bloody hell. What, there and back or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there and back. Yeah, 2 hours. So that was a long time.
Yeah,
But
right.
living with Myra, she was a lovely lady, good
Yeah.
family friend as well. So it was quite a nice, easy transitional period.
That makes it easy because
helped
it's
me
somebody you know as well. So it like lightens the. It's never nice being a stranger in your own house, is it?
Yeah, exactly. And bear in mind, I've always, been quite, very close to my mum, always had her kind of like waiting on me, doing
Yeah.
all the washing, cooking, all that business. I think especially moving out of home at first, it was a bit daunting, to be honest, actually, realizing how much you really have to do. So having Myra there was actually a blessing in disguise, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's
Yeah.
It's amazing actually when you're young how much you take for granted from your parents. Having your washing done, food cooked. It's all stuff that goes very easily overlooked.
Massively so. Massively so. Even just being back home at the moment, to be honest with you, makes me realise just how much easier it actually is. Just the things that you just generally wouldn't have to worry about.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah.
Well, so right, so you're working in this new salon. So I imagine you've hit the ground running. You're learning loads. You're meeting new clients, making loads of friends. But obviously, there's something has got to go wrong. Did you have any mistakes, or is there anything you could look back now and laugh about, or?
Yeah, massively. That job actually with Trevor Sorbie didn't actually last long. That job only lasted for about 4 months.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Why was that?
This is something that you can kind of. I mean, at the time, bear in mind, when I got fired, I was crying my eyes out. I was telling my mum, I'm moving back to Devon. I'm getting my job back with Andrew.
Sure.
She was telling me that I'm not welcome in all of this business.
Yeah.
So she was the one who actually forced me to stay in London. But basically what happened is you get certain hair competitions. You got your L'Oreal Colour Trophy. You got your British Hairdressing Awards. And these are kind of like the top tier of hairdressing competitions. Yep. And one of the guys from Trevor Sorbie was up for L'Oreal Men's Hairdresser of the Year. So they basically, the Trevor Sorbie, whole company, they basically bought loads of tables. Could you get like eight people around this table or so?
Okay.
And everyone from all of their salons in London, they got a salon in Hampstead, Covent Garden and Richmond. Everyone from their salons went. So I kind of thought it was like a good idea to, really meet the team, have some drinks with them. Bear in mind, it's free wine as well. People are constantly coming around and, pouring a bottle of wine.
Yeah. I know what those pies are like.
Honestly. But it is almost dangerous though, because you don't realize how much you're drinking, because you could be there holding it in your hand and then they'll just come fill it up right next to you. And, so you don't really have an idea on what you're drinking at that point.
Yeah. And also, if you're talking, conversing with people, you're constantly drinking. It's so easily done.
Yeah, exactly. So I was swimming in wine at this point, red and white. And then I met someone for the first time from the Hampstead salon. I can't remember what his name was, but he had told me that he'd just got back from China and he'd brought back this special Chinese alcohol.
Right.
I mean, I can't remember the exact name of it or so, but it was, you're looking at about like the absinthe level, about like 80% or so. So he's like, do you want to do a shit? Do you want to do a shot? I'm like, well, my masculinity wouldn't allow me to say no. My male ego wouldn't allow me to say no. So of course I took a shot.
I would have said yes too. So
yeah, exactly. So I took a shot and I was like, oh, it was like really, really grotesque.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, do you want another one? I'm like, obviously, go on then.
Yeah.
So we have a second shot of this, and that's when things start to get a little bit blurry.
Oh
actually.
No! What happened?
I basically made a real ass of myself to be honest, I was rude to a lot of the people. I tried hitting on the manager and Trevor Sorby's wife, I think, as well at the time. I was just a horrible, horrible person that night, I think.
Mate, I actually love it. But these are stories that you'll always, you better tell your kids
Yeah.
stuff like this.
And I actually ended up sleeping in London Paddington that night.
Oh no, Harry.
God knows how I got there, but I woke up to a policeman basically, almost like giving me like a little nudge with his foot, telling me that I've got to, move on because everyone's going to start coming in to work now.
Right.
So, well, I mean, whilst I was at Paddington, I just decided to get on the train and come back to Devon anyway then.
Okay.
And then when I got back to London a couple of days later, I went into the salon. Trevor was in there. My manager, Suella, was in there.
Oh, no.
And I went straight up to Trevor. I was like, Trevor, honestly, I cannot apologise enough for my behaviour. I feel like I've let you down. I feel like I've let the company down. And, obviously the words that he said, makes it cut a little bit deeper. It's like, Harry, at the end of the day, you didn't let anyone down apart from yourself. So it was like, ouch. Yeah. But to be honest, I thought my job was safe when he said that. He said, you haven't let me down or the company, it's just yourself. So I thought, okay, I feel awful, but I feel quite comfortable now. Plus, I was doing good in my job as well. I was the only junior to have made tips at that point.
Yeah.
I was getting on with all the clients. So I felt good in my job, in my performance. And I basically got called in by the manager. She just said, look, Harry, we feel like you're just not right for the company.
Oh, no.
So I basically got fired then and then on the spot.
Yeah.
Left, and then was just in limbo for about a week, 2 weeks. Just didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
So I ended up going on a guy's holiday to Turkey.
Oh, right. Oh, right, yeah. Just sort of just wash the tears away.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. I mean, before I left, I made sure I got in a few CVs and things like that. So, I remember sending CVs out to like Jamie Stevens, Adam Reed, Brooks and Brooks, who are kind of like the real up and coming big hairdressers at that point. So I made sure I got those applications off before I went, and then just went and just drowned my sorrows away.
So so I bet that was a bit of a hit, wasn't it, for the ego? I imagine.
Yeah, that was a massive, massive hit. Because at that point, nothing had ever really gone wrong in my career.
Yeah.
Everything had always just gone smoothly. No matter what I ever wanted in my career, I got it. It was never really an issue, to be honest with you.
Okay. So did you feel like this is the first time in your life that you had like a proper challenge?
Not so much challenge in my life. More, it was the first time I didn't know what I was going to do with my life.
Okay. But obviously, were you still very much invested in being a hairdresser or barber, stylist?
Massively.
Yeah.
So I knew that I was definitely still going to carry on hairdressing. That was never going to change. But this whole idea of becoming this, big London hairdresser was just going up in smokes. To be honest with you, I thought, my opportunity that I'd been given, I thought I'd just blown it. I mean, and effectively, I did blow it at that salon.
Yeah.
And that's when, like I said, I called up my mum and I told her, look, I'm sorry, I've been fired, I want to come back home. And then my mum, being my mum, who's a very strong woman and knew exactly what was best for me, refused to let me come home. And she told me, Harry, look, you've just got to wait it out.
Yeah.
And you've got to do what you can do and carry on grafting until something comes your way. You can't just throw it in just because it hasn't worked out for you the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And rightly so. What a very, very wise woman.
Very much so. Very, very much so. But then it's actually a funny story because when I landed in Turkey, I got a call from one of those 3 salons.
Oh, the ones that you put a CV in for?
Yeah.
Oh,
Brooks
wow.
and Brooks. Yeah, they gave me a call back as soon as I landed in Marmaris in Turkey. So I called them up and I was like, yo, because I didn't know who it was. So, my casual self came. I was like, yo. And he was like, Harry, it's Jamie from Brooks and Brooks. I was like, shit.
Oh, no.
Damn it. I'm about 4 pints deep at this point. I just shouted a yo to him down the phone. I'm like, God damn it. First impressions aren't really going my way at the moment. But it ended up just organising an interview for as soon as I got back to London, actually.
Cool. Well, that's great news. I mean, that must have made the holiday a lot sweeter.
It took a lot of stress off, actually.
Yeah, I bet it did.
It made the
knowing that
so
you at least had
better.
something, some sort of opportunity waiting at home for when you returned.
Yeah, exactly. And Brooks and Brooks were, the biggest opportunity going at that point or another, because where, you had Trevor Sorby and Vidal Sassoon, who are kind of like the top people, and a lot of people filtered down through their training.
Okay.
Sally Brooks and Jamie Brooks were both creative directors, so as top and high as senior as you can get in Trevor Sorby, in his Covent Garden salon. So
Okay.
they actually left and opened up their own in Holborn. So they were almost bred from Trevor Sorbie himself.
Oh, I see.
And then
Okay.
they started to go into more of an artistic direction with things, so they started going into more fashion shows and shoots and, still competitions, but it was just a really different way of hairdressing to what I'd
Yeah.
ever really imagined.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right. So you've got this new opportunity. I'm assuming from the sounds of it, you got the job.
Yes, I did. I did get
Wow.
a job. Yes.
Well, that's great. So how long were you with them, or do you still do some work with them now, or?
I still talk to some of the people from there
Yeah.
now. But bearing in mind, Brooks and Brooks is, I'd probably say it's one of the hardest salons to become a stylist in.
Why is that, Harry?
The training is just so intense, where they're kind of that perfect balance between precision cutting and texturizing as well.
Okay.
Okay. So you almost need to be perfect in both. So firstly, before you can even get near the shop floor, going back again, I got taken on as someone who's going to VADA, which basically means is that I'm a junior, but I don't wash hair and look after the salon as much as what apprentices do.
Okay.
I'm there to more or less train every day, bringing in models and training every day.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like a fast track to become a stylist with them, actually.
Okay.
But to become the stylist there, you basically have 2 tests that you need to pass. You have your classic test first, which is, your basic in hairdressing. Your 1-length haircuts, your 1-length bob, your forward graduation layers in the front. Just kind of these like box standard haircuts that just everyone should know at that point.
Sure. Okay.
And then once you've passed those haircuts, that's when you go on to your final part of your barbering, which is all about more the creative aesthetic side of the hairdressing industry, is where you start to understand more
the funky cuts, like loads of highlights and stuff like that, right? Or no?
Well, I think that I never did color. I've always been a cutter, to be honest with you. But yes, effectively, that is what it is. You're going into more like your undercuts, working with different textures, knowing what to use and when is a good time to do it. Enabling, why should you use graduation here instead of layering? What you're trying to build up to create a certain shape. They kind of show me a different avenue of hairdressing that I never even thought existed before, actually.
And is that something that you wanted to pursue?
Massively so, yeah. I mean, they really, Andrew's taught me, like I said, the basics of cutting and great customer service. But Brooks and Brooks really taught me how to become a hairdresser.
Yeah.
They really taught me.
Yeah.
How to become the best, actually, because their training is just so grueling.
Yeah.
And at the end of those 3 months, so I had my 6 weeks final basic, and then I had my 6 weeks final. And bear in mind, when you do your final, you get given about 8 or 9 models that you need to present. Okay, so if you say your test is on a Saturday, from the Monday to Friday, you need to get them all coloured with someone else, and then I cut them all throughout that week. And then on that day, I need to tell them what to wear. I need to get a makeup artist in, and they need to come in throughout the day, and I'll have to blow dry and style everyone's hair.
Bloody hell.
Okay, and then at about 7 p.m. on the Saturday, you walk around every single model, and you present your model to Sally and Jamie, with every single person in the salon standing there listening to you, watching what you've got to say.
What? So you basically explain what you did?
Yeah, you explain what you've done, your thought process behind what you've done, and why you've done it, and why you wouldn't have done it in a different way.
Right.
But then bear in mind that they could throw a question in there to you.
Okay. Could you give me an example? So if you saw my hair and me, how would you explain it then?
Well, what do you mean? Like the cutting, like, what would I do if I was to cut it?
Yeah.
Could you just move your headphones back slightly? Can I see those sideburns?
Huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Oh, yeah, they are a bit short, aren't they?
Yeah, nice. You're telling me, mate.
Can I see your side profile?
Side profile, yep.
Yeah, let's see that. Okay. Tell you what, mate, she's actually done a really nice cut, actually, for someone who's not a hairdresser.
Mate, she's done, with some, bearing in mind she used sheep shearers, she did a quite good job.
Yeah. Mate, well, the thing is, this haircut that you've got now would actually go down as something that would be in your creative cutting, actually. Where you've got your long pieces here, that's actually what you'd call a disconnection from where you have this sharp angular.
Ah, okay. Like separation.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Where you have like an undercut in the hair. So say in your haircut, if I did this haircut on you and Sally came up and asked me, so why have you left this bit here longer? Why did you not blend this in with the rest of the underneath? I would have to think of the reason of why I thought it looked better to do it this way instead of that way. I could say, you've got really strong, thick hair, and if you take this too short, it won't actually go back. It will just stick out straight from the head. So it's just about having that knowledge of how how hair works as well.
Yeah, got ya.
Which is
Yeah, that
actually
makes
why I'm
sense. Yeah.
studying to become a doctor of hair at the moment.
No, mate. But the thing is, you are a doctor in your field.
Well, mate, I'm actually studying to become a doctor actually in hair. There's something called trichology where you can literally become a certified doctor in scalp, hair, and nails.
Really?
Yeah.
So what, could you actually get the title Dr. Johnson?
Yeah. Yes.
That'd be incredible, Harry. I'm like, this is my mate.
Like,
He's
Harry
a doctor.
Johnson Hair and Beauty Clinic.
Yeah.
That'd be different. I mean, so different.
I actually love that.
Yeah.
I never knew that. That's cool. How long does it take for you to get that qualification?
It takes as long as you want with it. I mean, it's just like an online course, to be honest with you. I'm just doing it because I've got nothing else to really do at the moment.
And plus, you want to be a doctor, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't imagine doing anything worse, to be honest. That just wouldn't be really me. But, I enjoy learning about hair and what makes hair work. And if someone asks me a question, I hate it when I don't have the answer.
Yeah,
I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. So you briefly mentioned earlier about so you work with some people who competed in like the L'Oreal events and stuff like that. I know actually from doing some research on you and knowing you personally that you've actually been a finalist 3 times. Is that right?
Yes.
3 times. So could you give us a bit of a background on it, like how you got involved in it, and also, how do you actually participate?
So it's different for different competitions, to be honest with you, depending on what you're going into.
Okay.
Say you're going in for the L'Oreal Colour Trophy. What you need to do is just to enter and to get through to the finals is you need to do a photo shoot. And you need to, get a model, get a stylist, get a makeup artist again, a photographer, and you basically need to organise your whole photo shoot. You need to create the theme. You need to get the colour done, cut, style, get the slickest look possible, and then you just have to write what you've done on the back of the picture and send it all off to L'Oreal.
Wow. So do you have to self-fund all this yourself?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Definitely,
Wow.
yeah. Luckily, when you're young and in hairdressing, it is quite easy to get things done cheaper because there's a lot of people who are in the exact same situation as you. Someone who's just trying to make a name for themselves, someone who's trying to do well, up and coming photographer. So luckily, I could always do my photo shoots on, quite cheaply, but the results were always fantastic, actually. But to be honest, I've been going in for a competition since I was 17. I think I got through to the finals once in the Southwest region with Andrews, actually twice. Never did great. I think in the first year I ever did it, I came 21st out of 25.
Yeah.
So really not that good. But to be honest, my model in the live shows was, my best friend Johnny?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got a professional modeling. All these models were kind of going around asking Johnny, what agency are you with? And he was like, I'm just Harry's mate.
Yeah.
So, I didn't quite understand the level of, how big these things are actually.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, mate, so much money goes into it. It's mental.
So how did they, you said that the ones you did when you were younger were in the Southwest. Did you do any in London or?
I did one in London when I was at Brooks and Brooks, actually.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, when I was at Trevor Sorbet and I was in the men's region, I went in for that same competition, actually. So for men's hairdress with L'Oreal in London. Unfortunately, I didn't win. I actually came, I think it was 3rd that year, actually. And it's only the first 2 that go through.
Oh, wow.
Because it kind of goes in stages. So, you've got your London region. And then once you get through your London region, then you've got all the regions put together at that point. And I was one person off getting into those, massive finals.
So were there quite a, how many people actually try and compete for this?
1,000.
Really? Wow.
Thousands. You could get, hundreds, thousands going in for the photographic entry. And then they basically have to cut that photographic entry down to 25.
Bloody hell. Wow.
And you get 25 people going there to the live finals, and then only 2 go through.
That's insane.
The next round. So it's incredibly difficult. And then on the other side of your L'Oreal, like I said, you've got your British Hairdressing Awards, which are kind of like the Oscars of what you'd imagine the hairdressing industry to be like.
Yep.
And that you've got your regional finalists. So you've got your Southwest region, London, Midlands, Scottish, etc. And then you've got your specific regions. You've got your British Hairdressing Men's Hairdresser of the Year, British Hairdresser Artistic Team, Avant-Garde, just every type of specific Afro hair.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, you've got the Pinnacle Award, which is the British Hairdresser of the Year. But you can't apply for that one. That is done on purely nominee.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to get nominated, or?
I wouldn't even know the steps that you need to take. I think it's just a matter of your involvement in the industry, how much you're doing in the industry. So a lot of people, you can get great hairdressers who have nothing to do with the hairdressing industry. Absolutely nothing. They could be, they could charge the most money in London for a haircut, and they could have nothing to do with the hairdressing industry. Just because they're not interested. They're not interested in the competition side of things.
Right, got ya. Yeah, they just love it. They just, they don't not necessarily want to compete.
Yeah. It just doesn't do anything for them, to be honest with you. It doesn't really make, it doesn't make anyone more money. It's, it's great to have recognition in the industry.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really do anything for, building your salon.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Yes, it can look nice if you've kind of got all these awards and you've got it written on the wall, like, say, Hairdresser of the Year, something like that. But when most people are looking at finding a hairdresser somewhere, they don't type in British Hairdressing Award Hairdresser of the Year winner 2018.
Yeah.
They'll type in best hairdresser in London.
Right.
And so that's where, people put more money in towards more of a marketing scheme and making sure that in the Google, reviews, when people are coming up, they're right at the top. Whereas other people invest their money in more of the industry and going in for more competitions side of things. Mm-hmm. So there's always different areas of where people would rather prioritize.
Yeah. Is this something that now you've got your own salon, you want to pursue more, or no?
Great question. Because I've always been interested in competitions all the way from when I was 16 through to when I was about 24, 25, something like that. I was always interested in competitions. But at my last salon that I was at before I just opened up my own, they were one of those salons where, you could say that they were the biggest salon in London. Hirschsons are an incredible brand. Daniel and Luke Hirschson, they own it, father and son. They both charge £350 a haircut. It's just one of them mega list salons. It's right in Mayfair. Well, it wasn't. Then they moved to Fitzrovia. They've got another salon in Harvey Nichols, and every hairdresser would have heard of them. But
how long does it take to typically for these guys to cut a woman's hair or a bloke?
They get half-an-hour appointments.
Half-an-hour appointments.
Yeah.
And how many appointments would they do a day?
However many they'd really fancy doing, to be honest with you. If they just wanted to come in and just maybe do 5, they'd come in and do that and just block out the rest of the day. If they could see that they was getting busier, then they would leave it open and they might come in and do 10 clients a day.
That's insane.
It's completely just whatever you would really want to put into it, really.
Yeah. I guess it's all about the brand building, They wouldn't be able to charge that much if they didn't have the brand behind them, I guess.
Well, exactly. And, Daniel, he set up that salon from scratch, and he's, an amazing hairdresser and an even better businessman. I think he started out opening a salon in Knightsbridge, actually, with a guy called Neville.
Yeah.
And then when he left that salon to go on to his own and set up his own Daniel Hirschson brand, he made that in Mayfair. And I think just through great marketing, great business strategies, and the way that he does things is, he did end up making a huge career for himself, actually.
Wow. Incredible. How old is he, Harry?
I think he's about mid-60s now, Daniel himself.
Yeah.
And his son Luke is in his late 30s, early 40s. But bear in mind that these, in particular Daniel, Luke's won hairdressing competitions, but never from going in for them. It was always ones that he was just nominated for.
Got ya. Sometimes do you feel like you'd rather be nominated for it than actually going in for it? Because then it's like the recognition from other people knowing that they know you've done a good job. Yeah.
Massively. And plus, I hate losing as well. Losing. So, if I know that I'm nominated, then I know that I've got a stronger chance of winning the whole thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be nominated than enter a competition. But Daniel, for example, the 65-year-old, he's never gone in for a single competition in his life.
Really?
Yeah, never went in for a competition, and he's probably one of the biggest names to ever grace the hairdressing industry.
That's crazy. Do you ever
Yeah.
see yourself there one day?
No, I see myself bigger.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
ambitious.
Do that.
Like it.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
currently, Harry, if you had to put like a pin in an achievement, is there anything that stands out for you that you've accomplished so far?
Anything that I've accomplished so far.
What's like the thing? If you were meeting a girl and you wanted to brag, what would you say? Apart from that, I own my own salon, or is that your biggest achievement?
Yeah, actually, I didn't even think about that. Actually, I guess the biggest achievement is having my own salon. I think emotionally, the biggest achievement I ever did was actually passing that second test at Brooks and Brooks. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, because I remember that after when I first did the test, I actually failed it.
Did you?
So yeah, so with my first 8 models, I did them all, presented them, and yeah, Sally and Jamie failed me. And
Oh,
my
wow.
mum had come up for this.
Wow.
Family friends had come up to support me up from Devon, and yeah, they all had to really go home empty-handed.
Oh no.
Yeah. But then they came up 6 weeks later, and I actually passed that one. But
Did you get to resit it 6 weeks later?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the time, that if you don't pass your final, a lot of hairdressers would just ask you to leave at that point. But I think I had a good working relationship with Sally and Jamie, and they gave me the chance to represent all my models again.
Oh wow, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. And so passing it the second time was a huge, huge relief. And again, my mum had come up for this.
Lovely.
And I remember because what normally they'll do is once they've checked all the models, Sally and Jamie would go into their office together and deliberate, talk, and then come back out and announce their decision. But as soon as they had checked over my last model, Sally turned around and said, "Look, I think me and Jamie are on the same boat here. There's no need for us to go into the office and talk. I'm happy to welcome Harry as a new member on the team."
No way. Harry, I bet you were absolutely buzzing.
Well, I actually just broke down in tears, actually. I ran over to my mum, I hugged my mum, It was like one of them really surreal moments, to be honest with you.
Proud moment.
Yeah, that probably is one of my biggest achievements, actually, because it just was so emotionally draining.
Yeah,
because
you want to
get everything right the first time, because hairdressing is such a personal
of course it is.
industry that if you don't do what someone wants, or you don't do it right, or what someone likes, you take it to heart.
Yeah,
you really take it to heart.
Yeah.
So when I failed that first time, it was a real kick in the teeth, because everything had just been so smooth those first 3 years of hairdressing.
Yeah.
That London was really tested me, actually.
But I bet when you failed that first time, that was like, I bet you were like, right, I really need to nail it this time. I don't want to give up this extra opportunity they're giving me,
Yeah, massively.
And that's where Harry, it separates the boys from the men, there's a saying. A lot of people could have just been like, do you know what? This is not for me. I give up.
Yeah,
but
I'm
instead
out.
you had the perseverance, and, you put 2 and 2 together, mate. And yeah, you managed to smash it.
Yes. Yeah. Luckily, I'm here now, somehow or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I think that's awesome. I think that's great. It's unbelievable how this is why I love doing this, because there's so much stuff that I'd never ask you. Even you're like a really, really close friend of mine, and there's stuff I have no idea about, because it's like a totally different side to you. Do you know what I mean? There's stuff that you probably wouldn't want to discuss with me.
Yeah.
But mate, that is
the time.
Freaking awesome, Harry. That's so cool.
Thank you.
Fucking cool, man.
That
should be your fucking pull line every time. I ran over, hugged my mum.
Well, do you remember Darcy?
Yeah, I know Darcy, yeah.
Yeah, so we worked together at Brooks and Brooks.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that point, were you still training, or were you a stylist?
I was a stylist at that point.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, got
I was a stylist at that point. I was a stylist there at, how old was I then? I must have been about 21 at that point.
Yeah.
So I was a stylist at 21 at Brooks, and Darcy was 19 and a junior, so I was kind of her senior in that respect. But yeah, me and best thing about with Darcy is we both had such a love for hairdressing, is that we would just talk about it all night.
Yeah.
you know, till midnight, you know, we'd be there to talk about our photo shoot ideas, our dream, you know, what we'd want to have for our salons.
Yeah.
So both of us really kind of grew up in hairdressing at that point, actually.
Yeah.
Quite nice, because not everyone has that type of, you know, that same ambition, that same goal. A lot of people are happy to train as a hairdresser and work 9 till 6 and do their clients, and that's great.
Yeah.
But for other people want more. So with me and Darcy, it was really a case of pushing each other forward more.
Yeah.
Yeah, very emotional, that relationship, because it just was so much that we was both
Yeah.
putting into our jobs.
Yeah, it sounds it. It really does. And I think having that person to like lean on, especially if, you know, if work's really stressful or you made a mistake, you can quite easily share it. And because she knows so much about the industry as well, she can sympathize much easier than somebody else like your mom or like me or somebody else, you know?
Yeah, there's someone who just gets it in general.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
wow.
absolutely.
I mean, yeah, that sounds crazy. So you obviously dated this girl for quite some time. Did you ever come across any kind of stigma when, like, because I know it's very common. I think a lot of this will come more from men than women, I'd say. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I know growing up, I myself, being very naive when I was younger, I probably would have looked at a male who cuts women's hair and probably thought they're gay, which is like a horrible thing to say, really, because, you know, you're a very talented young man. And yeah, did you get any stigma from anybody?
Massively, all the way. From when I was 15 doing my work experience in Gershwin's, you know, I remember I was getting, you know, shit in school off people for wanting to become a hairdresser. You know, obviously that stereotype comes out.
Sure, yeah.
And to be honest, even now, actually, you know, if I'm out in the pub having a few drinks and I start speaking to someone, and, you know, it's a case of, oh, what do you do? And I say I'm a hairdresser. There's always this like general amount of, you know, shock to them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's me personally that they can't see me as a hairdresser, or they just don't see men in general being hairdressing.
Yeah,
but
it is a weird thing.
I think when most people think about male hairdressers, they kind of do think of this more flamboyant, you know, on the edge a little bit, whereas I'm quite just direct with it.
Well, you're more, I would say, I know quite a lot of people, gentlemen who cut women and men's hair. I know more barbers than hairstylists like yourself, but I would say you're a very manly figure than other hairstylists as I know. Do you know what I mean? So I think it probably comes as a shock to them, because they're probably taken back. You know, you're quite a tall guy, you're quite well set, broad, and they're probably thinking, Jesus, this guy cuts hair? Like, I don't know, they probably expect you to say something completely different, like you're in the police force or something.
I was thinking like lawyer.
We could say lawyer.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, generally it's a case of I don't actually like talking about hairdressing, to be honest with you, when I'm actually out with my friends.
Yeah.
I think
it's funny you say that. We've been speaking for about an hour and a half. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I'm joking, Harry. I'm joking, mate.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of them annoying things, you know, because whenever you're in a bar or just anywhere, and you tell someone that you're a hairdresser, their first question, or more often not, one of the first questions is, "Oh, what did you do with my hair?"
Right.
Oh, I can't be asked to answer it.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, booking for a consultation, and I'll tell you, I'm off duty at this point.
Yeah. It's like anybody. It's like if I go to the pub and someone wants to ask me about what I do or ask for advice, which does happen quite regularly. You know, when you're in the pub, you're there to just relax. You know, I don't mind offering a few minutes of advice, but yeah, I can sympathize. I can sympathize.
Well, the thing is, you know, I work, you know, a good 70 hours a week at the moment in the industry.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm not in work and someone asks me about work, I just shut out.
Yeah.
So I just really go, yeah, it's great. And then just stop the conversation then. And then they're like, oh, but what did you do with my hair? Nothing. Keep it how it is. It's lovely as it is. Keep it. It's perfect.
Yeah. I bet it isn't.
Yeah. It never is, but I just trying to shut the conversation down because I cannot be asked to talk about hairdressing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, but no.
I love it. So do you find that the stigma has affected your like getting jobs or no?
What do you mean? Sorry, with
so
with hairdressing or?
Yeah, with hairdressing, yeah.
Um,
Or not really?
Not really.
No?
No, I mean, I'm very lucky that, I mean, every job that I've ever interviewed for, I've I've got. So I've never really had a problem with trying to get the jobs.
Yeah.
Actually, that's never been an issue. A lot of people kind of have this very common saying that male hairdressers make the best hairdressers, which I don't think is true in the slightest. I think sometimes people just like the idea of a man doing their hair.
Yeah.
I think I would rather have a woman tell me I look good rather than having a man tell me I look good.
Of course, yeah. It weirds you out a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and I guess the same as vice versa. I think a woman would rather have, when I do someone's hair, a lot of it is telling them how great they look with this. You almost need to sell the haircut to them almost. The length that you've done. Oh, this works perfectly for you. Where it's hitting that collarbone, it's really just working. It really brings out your jawline. Your eyes are popping with this fringe. Just things like this that actually show you that you're caring. You're actually paying attention to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I get that. And also,
really
I think it's about like what's the word? I think it's about being like vulnerable, because I think when you get your haircut, it's quite like you got to drop your guard, because it's very personal, especially if they do like wash your head or wash your hair. Most of the time they like massage your head. If it's a bloke massaging my hair, like, it makes me feel weird. Like, do you know what I mean? But if it's a woman, then I'm like, oh.
Mate, you're actually not the only one about that, actually. I mean, I remember when I was at Andrews, I don't know if he still does this now, but back then, when it's still very old-fashioned, I think, but none of the male juniors could wash male clients' hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just wasn't. It was just one of those salon rules that it was just not allowed. It was only girls that were allowed to wash the men's hair. So if one of the girls was taking off a colour somewhere, and I was the only junior free, and a male needed to be shampooed, I would have to go and swap places with someone for her to go and shampoo their hair.
Right,
because like I said, a lot of men still just find it uneasy.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't like to stereotype, but especially in the older generation where they're a bit more set in their ways.
Yeah.
I think they do find it a little bit.
Yeah.
Uneasy, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I get that. That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I've always wanted to ask that, actually, because but you just never had the opportunity, because most of the time when we're together, we're either drinking or or eating something. I don't know.
Yeah, shock.
So right, big part of this whole podcast, mate. Your salon, amazing. Right, tell me about it. Yeah. Where is it? What does it look like?
It's actually in the best location I could actually ever imagine. Actually, it's in central London.
Okay.
It's on this street called Exmouth Market, which is like a really cute, cool street. Actually, you've got a lot of like really nice restaurants there, cool bars, nice pubs. You've got a really cool florist, so it's quite like a nice, cool, trendy area.
Okay.
Is where the salon is. But I was quite sure that I didn't want it to be like a big salon at first. I mean, one, I couldn't afford to open up a big salon.
Sure, but you want it to be personal.
Yeah, exactly. But the more I was looking into things, the more I was finding how difficult it was going to be to kind of get it up and running. When the contract that I was in with my job before is a very tight contract, so you can't work within a certain radius of of an area.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things that went into that contract that stopped me from doing things. But when I found this salon, it had 5 chairs in there. It was really pretty, a really cute salon, but you can almost just see the potential that it has to offer.
So was it already, was it a salon before, or?
Yes, yeah, it was.
Oh, that's handy. Yeah. So it already had like the chairs in?
Yeah, it had all the kit in. It's got the mirrors, the basins, the chairs.
Wow.
But when I was looking at premises in London before that, especially with the whole Brexit thing that had happened, a lot of landlords in the retail commercial area weren't excited about having a tenant on who's got no previous trading history.
Right.
So what they was asking for was about £200,000 in down payment.
Jesus.
On the rent, just because of the current, economical situation. There was just so much uncertainty, and obviously I don't have 200,000 just floating about.
No, I mean either. Yeah. If I did, I would not be here right now. We would be in a bar, mate, on some boat drinking.
Maldives. Moldies, mate.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was it really. So then I had to kind of shift the way that I was going to approach about opening up my own salon, and that's when I started looking for salons that were up for sale. And I actually got put in touch with someone who was looking to sell, and it was actually so I went and saw this salon, and I just instantly fell in love with the market. I fell in love with the salon. I hadn't met the team yet, but I wasn't too concerned about that. To be honest,
Okay.
for me, the most important thing was location, location.
Yeah.
It was such a perfect place. And it's got like 2 nice beauty rooms out the back as well. It's got like a really nice layout in the shop.
Yeah.
There's just so much room for it to grow, though. That it's an exciting project.
Yeah.
Really
So,
exciting project.
so what's your plan with it then? Are you going to be working there solo? Are you going to try and employ people?
So currently at the moment, I've got 1 stylist, 1 beautician,
Yep.
2 juniors, and a receptionist.
Wow.
Um, so obviously, that was how it was going to be. I was looking forward to kind of getting running with the salon because I only bought the salon on the 16th of March.
Oh, wow. So very recently then.
Very recently.
Yeah.
And then obviously exactly a week later, the lockdown kicks in.
Yes.
So, you asked me what's the biggest problem and my biggest challenge to overcome at the moment. It's trying to navigate my way through this coronavirus, actually.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, I've spent all of my capital that I had on the business.
Yeah.
But now it's trying to just almost work through this period because hairdressing at the moment isn't going back till the 4th of July.
Wow. So from a business point of view, is this financially making you struggle a bit, or?
It had its struggles at a period.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Luckily now, the government have stepped in and they've done a lot to help out businesses.
Yeah.
Luckily, so I got given a nice £25,000 grant from the government.
Wow, that's great.
Which was that was a huge help. Because bear in mind, I can't furlough myself.
Yeah, self-employed.
Yeah. And I'd only just gone to self-employed because I'd just been employed at my last job. So so I got given that £25,000 grant. They're looking after my staff. They're furloughed, so they're happy. But it's also all the things like your rent. The rent is luckily it's been deferred.
Yeah,
I'm very lucky to have very lovely landlords. I think I've heard of some businesses that when landlords were hearing what was going on and what was about to happen, they actually asked for their money up front, and that's actually put a lot of businesses out of work actually now.
So well, it's very common, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. At the end of the day, it all revolves around this, no matter what. So that was a big struggle. But now the biggest struggle is kind of imagining how we're going to be able to operate when we're back up and running.
Sure, yeah. That's the next big challenge.
That's going to be the huge challenge. At the moment, it's kind of just sorting out the admin. Luckily, I'm going to find the positives to this pandemic is that I have been able to get all of the admin side of things that I wouldn't have had the time to do, or would have taken me just a hell of a lot longer.
Yeah,
I've been able to write out my whole client journey, the whole research program, how I want the layout of things to be, getting in web designers and all these little tweaky bits that I'd have
it plays all of this stuff plays such a big part in the branding and everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Have you thought of a name, or are you going to keep with your name?
So at the moment, the salon is called Root Hair and Beauty. That's just how I bought it.
Yep.
But to be honest, I've always had I've always dreamed of seeing my name on top of a salon. So Harry Johnson's is where I see it going eventually. I've always dreamed of it being. I said dream. I've always wanted it to be a household name, like John Frieda. I'd love my own product range at one point, for example.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. So it's called what? Harry Johnson's or Harry Johnson?
Harry Johnson's.
Okay.
Definitely Johnson's, because I want to keep the plural to it. I don't want it to just kind of be about me.
Yeah.
You
want it to be like a franchise, yeah?
Not so much a franchise. I think when you get a franchise, you kind of lose the quality at that point.
Yeah, true, yeah.
But I would like more salons around. So I've always dreamed, again, having 1 salon in London, and then it's not having 5 salons in London, but having maybe 1 in New York, 1 in LA, 1 in Sydney.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Now that my brother and my nephew live in Norway, maybe I'll go open one up in Oslo. Who knows?
Yeah. But
that's kind of always been. Yeah, that's the plan anyway. Kind of have like an exclusive high quality, high brand that people can really trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible, Harry. I mean, you've come a long way since I knew you as a kid. I think you're doing really well. I think you're doing really well, man. You know,
Very kind of you.
super
Thank you.
proud of you.
Thank
That's
you.
incredible. I'm hoping I get free haircuts. Yeah.
Well, mate, come up to London and come see me, because I haven't seen you up there for over 3 years now.
Mate,
So come up to London and I'll look after you.
100 million%. I actually want to go up and see like a theatre show, so I might take Jen with me. I'll bring her along.
Perfect.
Yeah. We'll go out for a dinner or something, and I'd absolutely love that.
Yeah, mate, I'd absolutely love that. It's been too long since I've seen you now.
I know. Oh man, I can't wait to tell everybody. I'll tell everybody about your salon.
Yeah, mate, please do.
So where is it? What road is it on?
Exmouth Market.
Exmouth Market. Okay.
Exmouth Market, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, really cute little market in Central.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
have you got
a
website up yet, or?
Yes, there's a website up at the moment. It's called it's just weareroot.co.uk.
Sure.
Again, that is going to be changing soon. Actually, I'm gonna, like I said, at the moment, I've got a web designer, a web developer going on to things at the moment.
Sure.
So I'm going to be turning the website into this whole, e-commerce online store where people can buy their products through the website as well.
Sure.
You can book online. I want it to be much more interactive at all times. The plan is in a year to have our own app.
Like a booking service, you could book yourself in and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going into such an age that's just so digital and everything's just so electronic that, personally for me, I would rather go, say when I'm ordering a Domino's, I never call up Domino's.
No. And you can get the app now, right? Or go on their website,
Yeah, just go through the website, go on the app, whatever. And I tend to do that. And I know a lot of people who, I don't know a lot of people, but I know people who generally just don't like talking on the phone. Their phone could be ringing and I'll see it ringing there next to them and they'll just ignore it because they just don't like talking on the phone.
It eliminates the human interaction completely.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, but it's kind of bad as well. I think we're coming to an age now where, everybody spends the majority of their day looking at their screen on their phone rather than actually interact with people around them, which is actually really sad because I don't know. I'm quite old school, so I rarely look at my phone. Obviously, with regards to this, for like branding purposes, I have to keep posting on Instagram and do all that rubbish. But really, apart from that, I really don't use my phone. Not really.
Good,
not unless necessary.
Yeah, that's good because to be honest, I probably spend a little bit too much time on my phone.
Yeah. What, between clients? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask most hairdressers what they do in between clients, and most of them will say, "I'll get a coffee and I'll sit on my phone."
Yeah.
We just like to just draw out when we're not with clients. Because when we're with clients, we're so on it. We need to be talking. We need to, especially if they want to talk.
Yeah.
We can't be awkward and just not conversate back with them.
To be fair, my job is very different. Where I'm a builder, but my mind is very fixed on what I'm doing. Very much yourself, but you guys have to multitask. So you actually have to entertain your guest, so to speak, whilst actually cutting the hair, so that must be quite draining because you must take on a lot of their emotions as well.
Oh, honestly, at the end of the day, when I get home, I need half an hour. I just need half an hour to not talk to anyone, not have anyone talk at me, not to cook, just to sit down and just zone.
Yeah.
And just collect myself again, because especially at the end of a busy day,
where
you might have just done 12 clients back to back, you need to have conversations with all of these people, and it's all very different conversations as well.
Yeah.
I remember something that my dad used to do. He used to give me a newspaper every day, and he'd get me to read this newspaper, so I always had something to talk about with people.
Yeah, well, I think it's good. I think it's a good habit. Reading the news is good, keeps people interesting. I find even sometimes where you'll be having a conversation with someone and they literally, their attention span is so short because they're constantly looking at their phone and you can't have a conversation with them. It doesn't last 5 minutes. Drives me mad. It drives me.
I find it painful. I'd rather just not speak to them at that point.
I know. Yeah. I know. Yeah. It is mad. It drives me insane, mate. It really does.
Have you ever been on a date before where they've been it's say a first date and they're there texting on their phone?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's never been a second date, mate. There's never been a second date. It was the quickest 30 seconds I've made a decision on a date ever. I'm like, okay.
And I'm going.
They're like, what are you doing? Nothing. Crossing off the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, I'll say one of the biggest challenges of hairdressing and kind of dealing with clients is that you need to be very careful about what you speak about. You know, it's very ingrained into you that the things that you really shouldn't talk about are politics and religion.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
it's two
given,
very,
mate. Yeah.
yeah, it's two just very personal things. But it's just at the moment when people are talking about, you know, things like Brexit, the pandemic, how it's being
Yeah.
dealt with, you know, and that's just currently at the moment.
Yeah.
Almost just need to just smile and just agree with everything that they
Whatever
say.
they're saying. I think
Yeah,
that's very, very, yeah, smart move.
yeah, yeah.
Because,
And for someone who can be quite opinionated as well, you know,
yeah,
when I'm out
yeah.
with my friends or something like that, you know, you do really
Or
just
you
have
never
to.
know, they might like try and bait you in, you know, like bait you in and then try and cause an argument because they want, you know, people are like that. Weird.
Yeah, some people are like that. I've
Yeah.
had people like that in the past who have literally just come in. I swear they've just come in because they're pissed off and they want an argument. Yeah, yeah. I remember once Sally actually banned someone from the salon once because of how he was to not just me but to the junior as well who washed his hair. Like,
Really?
he was such an asshole. He was just
Bloody
so
hell, man.
rude. Yeah,
Wow.
and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the haircut, but he was just in such a foul mood that Sally ended up just coming up to him and said, "Look, I don't want you in my salon. You need to go." And,
Bloody
and I
hell.
and I'd never, you know, seen anything like that because
Yeah.
growing up in Andrews, you know, it's always the client is always right,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I've kind of always established that, and that's what I always thought was true, and 99% of the time it is. But in
Well,
that
that's
one
right.
time, Sally literally, you know, it didn't care. You know, it was that sense of she cared more about her staff than what she did about the money and profits of the salon. Actually,
Yeah, yeah.
that was actually quite an eye opener. Actually, again, that was one of them moments that I really had a lot of respect for Sally at that point. Actually, because I'd never seen that before.
One of your first time.
Yeah, ever, ever. I've never seen a stylist kick a client out of the salon before.
Well, to be fair, you know, you don't have to cut their hair. It's like, you know, if you start kicking off in a restaurant, the chef doesn't have to cook your food if you're being a prick. He can
Yeah,
kick you out, you know? It's one of
yeah.
them.
Well, another thing with hairdressing is that a lot of the time people think that they know a lot about the hair, and who knows, they may have done their research, they may have looked into it, but something that, you know, especially up in London, something that you're really taught is that we're the professionals. You know, we're here to listen, hear what you have, advise, and come to an agreement on what's
Yeah,
going on.
sure.
A lot of the time people may think, you know, I want this when it may not work for them at all. I remember I once had this client come in who had honestly had the thinnest hair in the world and she come in saying that she wanted this massive undercut through the back. And it was a case of, look, if I give you this undercut and shave away a quarter of your hair's going to be even thinner. And it was almost just trying to counteract this. And
Sure.
it's the best way anyone ever put it to me was, you know, when we go to a dentist, do we tell them what we, you know, what we want and what we need? We tell
Yeah,
them our problems
yeah.
and, you know, what we would like.
And they
And
offer
then
it as advice. They say, like, you know,
yeah,
you need to improve your dental hygiene, eat more veg, drink less fizzy drinks,
yeah,
brush more thoroughly, etc. You know,
yeah,
same
exactly.
thing with your hair.
Massively so.
Yeah,
But the hairdressing industry has almost been cheapened in the sense that
yeah. Well, that's
people
the
think that
problem.
a lot of
That's the
hairdressers don't
internet,
work.
isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it's the internet and it's also other hairdressers. Because, you
Oh,
know, to become, say, a doctor or a dentist, for example, you need to go through a certain system of training to get to that point.
yeah,
Whereas training to be a hairdresser, you've got some people like myself who have trained. I mean, I'm still training now. I've still gone courses. You know, trying to freshen up, learn new things. You know, who are constantly training. But mostly, it's a good 2.5 year training to just even get to the basics.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
you've got some people who might just go on a quick 6 week course, and it's like, bang, I'm a hairdresser. Look at me
yeah.
go! And then they go off into the world and start doing what they do.
But
And
that's
it
the
almost
problem, Harry. That's the
cheapens.
problem with like so many careers. You know, there's like all these
Yeah,
open courses. I'm not like
imagine
I'm not.
builders is something very similar.
Yeah, yeah, mate. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not shitting on anybody at all right now, but you know, but you can quite easily go and do like a night course as a carpenter or bricklayer or anything like that, and then you can be a
Mm,
self-proclaimed bricklayer. And you know, there are
yeah,
people out there who just go out and start doing it, and then they don't necessarily get the most professional job that they signed up for or paying for. You know, and then
yeah,
builders get labelled as like a cowboy builder when the job
yeah,
isn't as adequate as it should be.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. You know, I remember there's always that sense. You know, I know when doing the salon at the moment, going around, I was thinking, God, this looks like a very bodge job. This, you know, whoever's ever done this is
Yeah,
not really giving it much care and detail. But then I just went and painted the salon myself, and I think a professional painter. I mean, it looks good to me, but I think if a professional painter and decorator came in and seen the work that I've just done in that salon, they would be shocked.
Oh, what?
Like,
yeah. I wouldn't say shocked. Oh, I'm sure you did a great job. But, but this is what this guy does for a living. Do you know what I mean? Like, he does it for a living. So his expectations are going to be a lot higher. Well, you hope higher. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they've trained for a few years and they're still not that great, then maybe it's time to start thinking about career change at some point or another. But,
yeah. You can't get away with just like pretending to cut the hair, then send them on their way, Harry.
Let's get halfway through it.
Yeah, I'm bored now. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I'll tell you what. Yeah, it's fine. I can say it. The worst thing I ever did in hairdressing, I remember. I'm not going to say what salon I was at because I don't want the salon to know I was there at that time.
Yeah.
But I just had a big night out with my friends. I just had a big reunion with one of my friends from Devon, and we had been on this night out on a Friday night. And I didn't get back until about 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30. And then even though I got back at 5:30, we stayed up till about 6:30, having pizza playing about. I mean, I think I slept for maybe like an hour or so. I go into work that day, and I look at my column, and I'm absolutely fully booked.
No.
And I'm thinking, oh God, this is nightmare. And bear in mind, I'm red. Like, I'm so red. It's so easy to tell when I'm hungover. I just get red. I get a massive vein here in my forehead. It's so easy to tell. And I look at it, I'm fully booked. I'm like, shit. My first client is a gent, so I'm thinking, all right, it's fine. I can get through this guy. And he comes in and he's like, says what he wants. I'm like, I can't even be bothered. That sounds awful. I can't even be bothered to ask him, get into that real consultation. I'm like, yeah, cool, you want that? Let's do what you want.
Yeah.
So I go in, and when you're cutting gent sides, you can either do it with clippers or you can do it with scissor over comb, where you basically it's a bit more niche, a bit more technique in it. Yeah. So I was doing my scissor over comb, and then my hands were like,
oh, you have the shakes. You have the shakes.
Yeah, I basically had like the shakes. I was doing this guy's out. I was thinking, you know what, this isn't working. This is not going to do it. So I went and got the clippers, and I just started shaving off his hair, and then I literally just got the top, cut that all off, and it was honestly, I think it was the worst haircut I've ever done in my life. I never saw the guy again, shockingly enough. I never saw him again. But I went downstairs into the office at that point, and I went into my boss's room, and I said, guys, I'm really, really not feeling well. Do you mind if I go? And luckily they did, actually. But the bad thing was that was only the second week I was at the salon.
No way.
Yeah. So it really, I don't think, gave them a really good indication on what I was about. Normally, I'm not like this. I never used to.
Yeah. But it's all a learning. It's all a learning curve. Learning in progress.
Always. One of them industries, you're always learning something.
Yeah, every day's a school day. So I always like to ask people before we end the podcast. What is a piece of advice you've been given that you always resonates with you, and you've shared it, or something, just a piece of advice that you would like to share, or you've been given by somebody else?
Well, strictly relating to hairdressing.
Okay.
The best piece of advice I ever got was, it's just hair.
Okay.
Actually.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because, again, I was saying before, I was always really emotionally invested, especially through my whole period at Brooks & Brooks. I was always so emotionally invested in my haircuts that if they didn't go right, I'd start sweating. I'd get really angry with myself. I'd get angry with other people if I wasn't doing it right.
Okay.
And I was working at this salon called Jamie Stevens at the time, and Jamie's top hairdresser, Jonathan Andrews, was training me and was doing this bob. And I was getting myself really, really worked up about it because I just wasn't doing it as good as what I knew I could do it. And then he literally pulls me away from the model, sits me down, and he's like, Harry, I need you to calm down right now. Because you know what? It is only hair. We're not doctors. We're not saving lives. We're not in the army. We're not on the front line defending our country. We are cutting hair.
Yeah.
And that actually, it really kind of opened me out that I was putting too much emotional energy into what I was doing, actually. And I was letting it really affect, the rest of my day.
Yeah.
And so
well, you're passionate. People who are passionate about things tend to do that. You tend to overthink, because you want it to be perfect, which is nothing wrong with that. But it's again, it's like you said, it's like taking yourself out of the situation and, being in control of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, as soon as I get worked up, I'm not in control of that situation anymore.
Exactly.
I'll just start
reacting. No, that's actually a really good piece of advice. But that could be used in all sorts of careers, really.
Yeah, massively so. I mean, I'd say in just a general context, obviously, Conor McGregor.
Yeah, yeah, I know
You know,
Connor. Yeah.
absolute arsehole and a half, I think. But did you see that video of him punch that old man in that pub?
I've
Did
heard
you see
about
that
it.
video?
No, I've heard about it. Why? Do you know the old guy?
No. I was
Oh,
just asking you. Just asking you, isn't it?
no,
But
no.
he came out with this one quote once. Is that he said that he doesn't believe in talent. He just believes in hard work, dedication, and commitment. And I think that's something that I really that really went with me. Actually, I mean, I would never say that I'm overly talented.
Yeah,
When I was at college, there's a couple people in the class who, we all started at the same time, and I definitely wasn't the best in the class.
yeah,
But I would say that I've gone the furthest in our careers.
yeah,
Not from our natural ability, but just from how much I put into it.
yeah,
And that was probably a really good piece of advice, actually, that because I think a lot of people try to rely on their talent too much.
yeah. Of course, yeah,
It's the same with like footballers. It's a very famous footballer, that Ravel Morrison. Sir Alex Ferguson, the best manager of all time, Wayne Rooney, one of the best strikers of all time, said he's the best youngster he's ever seen in his life. He's going to be the best player in the world.
yeah.
And he's never done anything with his career because
There
even
you
though
go.
he had unlimited amount of talent and potential, he didn't have the commitment or the determination to actually follow through with it.
Well, that's the thing, it's there's a lot to be said for, having talent. Like, I know a lot of people who are so talented, but their heart wasn't in it.
Yeah.
I think that, the people who usually have the biggest heart and real passionate about it, and relentless is a word I would use very commonly. If they're relentless, then, it might take you 10 years to do something, but if you are consistent and you're relentless and you don't give up, you get there. You will. And it doesn't matter if it takes 10 years because you'll get there.
Yeah.
And you might not, your vision might be a bit clouded or it might be a bit different to what you envisioned, but you'll be there. And I believe that's very similar for your situation, Harry. You probably envisioned, I'll be winning loads of awards, doing all this, but your vision has changed and you're actually doing something that you have probably had no idea that you'd be capable of doing. Or even, seeing the big sign on your, your new salon. I mean, that must have been when that actually gets put in, man. That's going to be cool. That's going to be like
top. Mega.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
I'd get teary. I'm getting teary for you, mate.
Well, what I'm gonna have to be doing is I'm gonna be having like a big launch party. We're gonna have all like the big, journalists, influencers, bloggers, models. You're gonna have to come along, mate.
I would love to.
The whole street,
mate. I would love to. 100,000,000%. I'll 100% come, mate.
Yeah, brilliant. Love that.
Well, Harry, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, having you on the Joshua Green Show. I've been harassing you, so I can stop harassing you now. But I'm just going to ask you right now, because I always like to ask. I'd love to have you back on at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can find out how your salon's getting on and any more crazy stories from the opening, which I'm sure is bound to be some problems.
Go on, yeah, maybe a bit too many.
But yeah. So thank you so much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me, and absolutely, I'd love to be on again. Just great seeing you again, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Exactly. So, guys, that's the end of the Joshua Green podcast. Thank you very much for Harry for coming on. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be brilliant. Take care, guys. Have a great week.